You're working 55 hours a week, maybe 60. You're bringing home more money than you ever have, and somehow you have less than you did 5 years ago. Less time, less energy, less freedom. If that doesn't make sense to you, keep watching, because what I'm about to show you is going to change how you think about every extra hour you've ever worked. You're 34 years old. You make $82,000 as a project manager at a mid-sized company. Your spouse makes $68,000. Combined household income is $150,000. That puts you in the top 20% of American households. You should be winning, but you're not. You're drowning. You work 50 to 55 hours most weeks because that's what it takes to keep up, to stay visible, to stay relevant. You check emails at 9 p.m., you work through lunch. You take calls on Saturday mornings. And every 2 weeks, when your paycheck hits, you feel a brief moment of relief. Look, more money. But then you pay the mortgage, you pay the daycare, you pay the car loans, the insurance, the student loans, the utilities. And at the end of the month, you're looking at your savings account and it's the same number it was 6 months ago, sometimes less. You're exhausted. You haven't had a real conversation with your spouse in a week. Your kids are growing up in the gaps between your meetings. And you keep thinking, if I just work a little harder, if I just put in a few more hours, if I just get that next promotion, then things will get better. But they never do. The treadmill just speeds up. Here's the belief you've been sold your entire life. Working more equals earning more equals getting ahead. It's the foundation of the American dream. You put in the hours, you climb the ladder, you build wealth. It sounds logical, it sounds fair, and for decades it actually worked. In 1980, if you worked overtime, you got ahead. The extra hours translated directly into extra purchasing power. You could buy a house, you could save, you could retire. But something changed. The math broke. And now, for millions of Americans, working more doesn't make you richer, it makes you poorer. Not in dollars, in life, in time, in health, in the things that actually matter. And the system is designed to hide this from you. Let's break down what actually happens when you work overtime. Let's say you make $80,000 a year. That's about $38.46 per hour if you're working a standard 40-hour week. Your company offers you the chance to work extra hours. Maybe it's project-based. Maybe it's just the culture. You say yes because the money sounds good. So you start working 50 hours a week instead of 40. That's 10 extra hours. At your hourly rate, that should be an extra $384.60 per week. About $20,000 more per year. That sounds significant. But let's look at what actually happens to that money. First, taxes. You're not taxed at your average rate. You're taxed at your marginal rate. That extra $20,000 doesn't get taxed at 15%. It gets taxed at 22%, maybe 24%, depending on where you are in the bracket. Federal taxes take about $4,800. State taxes take another $1,200 if you're in a typical state. FICA takes $1,530. You're already down to $12,470. That's a 38% cut before you've even seen the money. But we're not done. Those extra 10 hours per week mean you're at work more. You're commuting more. If you're driving 30 minutes each way, that's an extra hour of commute per week. That's gas, wear and tear on your car, maybe parking. Let's say $100 per month. That's $1,200 per year. Now you're at $11,270. But you're also too tired to cook. You're ordering delivery twice a week now, instead of once. That's an extra $60 per week. $3,120 per year. You're at $8,150. You're paying for a house cleaner now because you don't have time to clean. That's $160 per month. $1,920 per year. You're at $6,230. Your stress is through the roof, so you're spending more on decompression, therapy, massages, the occasional expensive dinner, just to feel human. Let's say $150 per month. $1,800 per year. You're at $4,430. You worked 520 extra hours in a year. That's 13 full weeks of work. And you netted $4,430. That's $8.52 per hour. You're making less per hour working overtime than a Starbucks barista. And we haven't even accounted for what you lost. Because here's what nobody talks about. Overtime doesn't just cost you money, it costs you time. And time is the only resource you can never get back. Those 10 extra hours per week are 520 hours per year. That's 520 hours you're not with your kids. You're not with your spouse. You're not sleeping. You're not exercising. You're not doing the things that keep you sane. You're trading the irreplaceable for the replaceable, and your body knows it. Your stress levels are higher. Your sleep is worse. Your health starts to decline. You're more irritable. You're less present. You're running on fumes. And the cost of that doesn't show up on a spreadsheet. It shows up in your marriage. It shows up in your kids asking why you're never home. It shows up in the doctor's office when your blood pressure is too high and you're 36 years old. The real cost of overtime isn't the taxes. It's the life you're not living while you're working. And here's where the trap closes. Because you're not just working more to get ahead. You're working more to stay even. Let's talk about the fixed costs that have exploded in the last 30 years. Housing. In 1980, the median home price was about 3 times the median household income. Today, it's over 5 times. You need to work significantly more just to afford the same house your parents bought on one income. Childcare. The average cost of daycare in the US is now over $1,200 per month per child. If you have 2 kids, that's $28,800 per year after tax. You're working an extra 15 hours per week just to pay someone else to raise your children while you work. Healthcare. The average family premium for employer-sponsored health insurance is over $23,000 per year. Your employer might cover most of it, but your deductible is $5,000. One emergency, and you're wiped out. Education. If you want your kids to go to college, you're looking at $200,000 to $300,000 total. You're supposed to be saving for that while also paying your mortgage, your daycare, your healthcare, your student loans from your own education. These aren't luxuries. These are the basic costs of participating in middle-class American life, and they've all increased faster than wages. So you work more, not to get ahead, just to cover the gap. The overtime isn't building wealth. It's plugging holes. And here's the thing that should terrify you. You've become so good at this that you don't even notice you're doing it anymore. The extra hours feel normal now. The exhaustion feels earned. The sacrifice feels noble. You've optimized yourself into a machine that converts time into just enough money to justify converting more time. And somewhere along the way, you stopped asking if any of this was actually working. So why do smart, capable people keep doing this? Why do we keep working more when the math doesn't work? There are a few reasons, and none of them are your fault. First, the system requires you to show income stability to access anything. You want to buy a house? The bank wants to see 2 years of consistent income at a certain level. You want to refinance? Same thing. You want to rent a nicer apartment? They want proof you make 3 times the rent. The system punishes you for earning less, even temporarily. So you take the overtime because you're afraid of what happens if you don't. Second, raises are tied to performance and visibility. If you're not working late, if you're not responding to emails at night, if you're not visibly grinding, you get passed over. The promotion goes to someone else. And you know that if you don't keep climbing, you're falling behind. Third, lifestyle creep is real. When you start making more, your brain adjusts. You upgrade the apartment. You lease a nicer car. You buy things that make you feel like the money was worth it. And suddenly, you need the overtime just to maintain the lifestyle the overtime funded. You're trapped in a loop of your own creation. And fourth, culturally, we've been taught that hard work is virtuous, that rest is lazy, that if you're struggling, you're just not working hard enough. So when you're exhausted and broke despite working 60 hours a week, you don't blame the system. You blame yourself, and you work harder. But here's what nobody tells you. The way out isn't working more, it's building margin. It's creating space between your income and your expenses so that you're not running at 100% capacity all the time. Because when you're running at full capacity, any shock destroys you. A medical bill, a car repair, a layoff. You have no buffer, no flexibility, no options. And that's what overtime actually steals from you. Not money, options. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. Let's take 2 people, both making $80,000. Person A works 50 hours a week and makes $95,000 after overtime, but their expenses are $92,000 because they're paying for convenience, decompression, and status. They're saving $3,000 per year. Person B works 40 hours a week and makes $80,000, but they've ruthlessly cut their fixed costs. They're living on $65,000. They're saving $15,000 per year. After 5 years, Person A has $15,000 saved. Person B has $75,000 saved. Person A is burned out, exhausted, and trapped. Person B has options. If Person B loses their job, they have a year of runway. If person A loses their job, they have 2 months. Person B can take a risk. Person A can't. But here's what the numbers don't show you. It's Tuesday morning. Person A's boss asks them to take on a project they know will be a disaster, a political mess that will consume their nights and weekends for 3 months. Person A says yes, because they have to. Person B's boss asks them the same thing. Person B thinks about it for 5 seconds and says, I don't think I'm the right fit for this. And they mean it. And it costs them nothing. Because when you have margin, you have the ability to say no. And the ability to say no is the only real power you have in a system designed to say yes for you. The person working less has more freedom, not because they make more money, because they kept more margin. And here's the shift I want you to make. Stop measuring success by how much you make. Start measuring it by how much you keep and how much time you control. Because the goal isn't to maximize income. The goal is to maximize optionality, the ability to say no, the ability to take a month off if you need to, the ability to be present for your kids, the ability to sleep. These aren't luxuries. These are the actual definition of wealth. And overtime destroys them. Every extra hour you work is an hour you can't get back. And if that hour isn't buying you freedom, it's buying you a cage. Now, I'm not saying never work hard. I'm not saying quit your job and live in a van. What I'm saying is that the equation has changed. Working more used to be the path to security. Now, it's often the path to burnout and stagnation. And if you're stuck in the overtime trap, the way out isn't another promotion. It's redesigning your life so you don't need the overtime to survive. That might mean moving to a lower cost of living area. That might mean driving an older car. That might mean renting instead of buying. That might mean saying no to the private school. These aren't failures. These are strategic decisions to buy back your time and your sanity. Here's what I need you to understand. You are not lazy for wanting to work less. You are not entitled for wanting to see your kids. You are not weak for being exhausted. The system is designed to extract maximum labor from you while giving you just enough to keep you running. And the moment you realize that working more is making you poorer in the ways that actually matter, you can start making different choices. Not easier choices, different ones. Choices that prioritize margin over income, presence over productivity, life over labor. The overtime scam isn't that you're working for free. It's that you're trading the irreplaceable for the insufficient. You're giving up time you'll never get back for money that disappears into a system designed to absorb it. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. You'll start asking different questions. Not, how do I make more? But, how do I need less? Not, how do I work harder? But, how do I work smarter? Not, how do I climb faster? But, do I even want to be on this ladder? So here's my question for you, and I want you to answer honestly in the comments. Are you working overtime to get ahead? Or are you working overtime because you're already behind? Because one of those has a solution, and one of those is just a treadmill with better lighting. If this video changed how you think about your next 10 hours of overtime, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Thanks for watching. If you want to know why your raise is actually a pay cut, click the left video. And if you want to know how you lose money every night without you ever noticing, click the right video. And I'll see you there in a second.